Welcome to the Irishman, Englishman and Scotsman Football Podcast. This is the Irishman, Englishman and Scotsman Football Podcast. Delighted to announce joining me today is the former Tottenham, Celtic and Switzerland superstar, Ramon Vega. Ramon, welcome to the show.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Good, buddy. Good. Now, your name, Vega, it sounds very Spanish.
Well, it is Spanish because my parents are Spanish. So I was born in Switzerland and born and grew up there. My parents were Spanish immigrants, came to Switzerland. Hence the name Ramon and the last name Vega. So it's quite a typical Spanish name. So name-wise, definitely Spanish, but born and growing up Switzerland.
Bueno, Ramón, si puedes hablar español también, si quiere. Yo soy un irlandés malagueño.
Por supuesto puedo hablar en español.
Muy bien, very good. Okay, so you're born in Olten in Switzerland.
Yes.
And you signed for Grasshopper Zurich.
Yes.
You won the league 3 times with them and the Swiss Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty successful.
Well, I think in Switzerland, the Grasshoppers at that time was one of the best team within Switzerland. Okay. We had a great team. I would say about 80% of our team was Swiss national team players as well in the same time. Yeah, it was a very good, successful period, fantastic period for myself. For me, it was just the starting of my career. You know, I joined them at around 17, 18 years old. By 19 years old, was already first team player. And also I had a very successful spell with them. And yeah, as you say, some great trophies and great experience.
Now, Ramon, there's one question that always stuck in my head. And I'm glad I get a chance to ask you today. What language is spoken in the Swiss national team dressing room?
A mixture of French, German, Swiss German.
Okay.
And then, of course, depends, like myself, so the immigrant Spanish back or Italian or obviously it was an ex-Yugoslav we had as well, So it's really a mixture in the dressing room. But the main language is definitely German in this case. So, or Swiss, I would say, Swiss German in this case. That's one of the main languages, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm based in Salzburg in Austria, and Germans do struggle here with the dialect. But, I've met people from Switzerland, and that's a whole other level of...
That's a different level, yeah. Well, the Austrians have also their own very heavy accent in terms of dialect. Okay,
Ramon, back to football. You played for Grasshoppers in the Champions League against Real Madrid in 95 and drew with one of the best Champions League teams of all time in Ajax, who were the champions that year. They had the likes of Edgar Davids, Patrick Kluivert, Mark Overmars, Van der Sar in goal. How did you stop them scoring?
Well, it was not easy. I think one of the, without a doubt, the best front midfield players in whole of Europe and the world were playing on that team. Yeah, all of them pretty much left that club afterwards and sold for a lot of money to big clubs like AC Milan, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, and so on. Playing against the Kluivert, the Overmars, the Littmannen, and all these guys, it was very, very, very difficult to mark. But also a great test for me as well. You're actually playing against the best of the world in that time. And Grasshopper really defended himself with a very humble way. The team we had still had quality players in our team, but same time, obviously Ajax was without a doubt above us.
Yeah, I mean, I was 15 at the time, and that was just amazing football to me, watching on the TV that Ajax team of 95, that won it was absolute class. Then you moved from Grasshoppers to Italy and you signed for Cagliari. What was that like?
Well, Italy was fantastic. Obviously, the Italian connection was there already, as I mentioned, within growing up with my friends, So Italy was very close by Switzerland anyway. And then at the time, the 90s, this area, I was without that the biggest league in the world, Be part of such a league as a defender is great, and a great experience playing week in, week out with the best strikers in the world. It was a great experience, but was very short as well in the same time because within that 6 months. 7 months, I think, was it exactly? Already English club were knocking on the door to go over there. There was Leeds, Liverpool, and Tottenham done the final deal with me, and I came to England then afterwards.
Yeah, so you signed for Tottenham for a fee of £3.75 million, which was quite a lot of money back then. How did that happen exactly? How did the move happen?
Well, Tottenham was already interested in me in the summer at the Euro 96 in England. When I played against England, I played very well against them, against Scotland, Holland as well, and the European Championship in England. But for me at the time, Serie A was a dream to come through, of course, as a defender. The best defenders in the world and best strikers in the world. And I'm from a small little country like Switzerland, going to be part of the big boys, kind of. So, wow, this is fantastic. You're not going to leave this out. So I choose Serie A at that time was my best option. But they're pursuing, for over the period of that 6-7 months I was at Cagliari, they were every month knocking on the door, why are you not coming to England, and trying to pursue. And by time 7 months later on, I think I said, well, let's go. And be honest, I never looked back after that.
Yeah, I mean, a big move back then, but you're right in saying that, like Serie A those days, AC Milan, Inter Milan, those teams were absolute class. They had the best players in the world went there. Before I think the big Premier League money came in, and then the Spanish teams got really rich, Real Madrid and Barcelona in the 2000s. So at Tottenham, you won the League Cup in 1999, beating Leicester at Wembley. In the last minute, I think it was Alan Nielsen who scored the goal. Now, that would have been a great day for anybody, because I think it was the first time Tottenham won a trophy since they won the FA Cup in '91, I think, with Gascoigne.
Yeah.
But you broke your ankle, sadly. Tell us about that.
Well, it was mixed feelings, to be honest. You got very excited because obviously got medal with Tottenham Hotspurs, first time for a long time, historically as well. Okay, great Sunday out because all Wembley Stadium was packed with Tottenham Hotspurs supporters, and it's the glory Tottenham Hotspurs day, But at the same time, after I finished the game, it was very painful feeling, because I really feel there's something wrong with my ankle. Already before the game, it started to really be painful, but I just decided to go because you're not going to miss a final. You don't know when they go back to a final, to be honest with you. If you look back now, I was very, very lucky. I actually done this final because Tottenham Hotspur didn't go to many finals thereafter.
No, they didn't.
So doing this and going through that pain was massively worthwhile, because today I can talk about I won a medal, but in the same time, absolutely crazy. I would say irresponsible in a way to my career, because I could end my career in the same time, because it was really bad, the ankle. I was out for more than 9 months there afterwards. I remember 2 days later, I had a scan with the Swiss doctor, because I had the national team coming into it, and he looked at me and he said, well, I don't know if these bones are going to heal together again. So for me, it was like, wow, the whole face rolled within down. I thought my career is completely over now. Yes, I got my medal, but I'm standing here in the doctor's kind of office, and he's telling me the brutal news that potentially might never again play football, or potentially even properly walking going forward. That was even more concern, Obviously, the career be finished. That was painful, but not having not doing sports going forward, that was even more difficult, to be honest. That was a very scary moment at the time. Lucky enough, that healed up quite well. Took quite a while, to be honest with you, and I can come back to play football again.
Did you see the doctor straight after the game? Did you celebrate with the team at all?
Well, I celebrated a little bit, but he was in pain because I was like limping around the whole dressing room, let's call it that, and then go to the celebration at the hotel where we had the team. Or, I would love to celebrate more, but the pain really, really, really took over, because it was really painful, especially when you already went through a major for hours and hours and painful through the game. There was like during the game, I really said, I can't do that anymore. I need to go out. After 40, 50 minutes already, and I say, wow, I might have to tell George Graham I need to get me out, because the pain was so strong. And in my mind, and this is what sports comes into it, the mind can really, really change a lot, even on a painful equation like this, that you actually can go through longer and get it done, to be honest with you. And that shows in that game as a really painful kind of situation. But my mind was very strong, and so I want to really get through and finish that for the team and win this cup. And lucky enough, it went my way at the same time, I have to say. But it was a painful experience. There's no doubt.
The most painful medal you've ever won?
Pretty much, but worthwhile.
Okay, but there was more to come. Now, this is an amazing story. In the year 2000, you signed for Glasgow Celtic on loan for 6 months. You scored 2 goals on your debut against Aberdeen. And in that 6 months, Ramon, you won the Scottish League, the Scottish Cup, and the Scottish League Cup. That must have been absolutely amazing to achieve all that after breaking your ankle.
Oh, well, this was a huge, an enormous lift to my career. From having been told potentially never going to play again to potentially never even do sports going ahead, to completely signing one of the best clubs in the world, Celtic Glasgow. And then on top of that, scoring on the first game 2 goals, and then go on to win the treble. You can't even make it up, frankly saying, to be honest here. Even I will dream about it. I don't think so I will ever get it back, something like that. It was absolutely fantastic, and it really a big lift for me. The morale really lifted straight away, and I was so happy at Celtic at the time, because it was really terrible 10 months of recovering, injuries. When most of the players will tell you, when you're injured the long term, the mental strain goes into that is absolutely massive. It's really your confidence is down. You can't do anything. It's really, really bad. And that really 6-7 months, it was fantastic. Celtic, it was huge. I will never forget this period at Celtic ever.
Now, Ramon, we spoke about Swiss German and the languages in the Swiss national team dressing room. In those 6 months you were at Celtic, did you have any trouble understanding the Scottish accent?
I'll tell you what, the Scottish accent depends where. If you go in Edinburgh, it's a little bit clearer and straightforward, but you got the Glaswegian. I'll tell you what, my friend, when the Glaswegian starts to talk about it, they say, "What are you saying? Please, can you repeat it again?" So they say, "Never bother, big man." So it's kind of really, really, really heavy Glaswegian accent, and that was difficult to start with, but very funny as well. Some great people,
How good was Henrik Larsson to play with?
Henrik Larsson was unbelievable striker. It's in terms of quality and as a striker, as a human being, as a player himself, as a teammate, all the attributes where you can actually dream of to play against a major legend as a star and as a player. He's, from the humbleness point of view, as a person himself, even though he knew that he had this quality to score at the front, and as a defender, it was fantastic. You knew at the front, whatever you do wrong or not, you got Henrik Larsson who's doing the job for you, and you have a chance to win. And this is a great feeling as a defender.
So you've obviously, like I said, you've played in Switzerland, you've played in Italy, to the Premier League, then to Celtic. Which team had the best atmosphere in the stadium?
I would say, from my opinion, no doubt, I think Celtic Glasgow, that was, from my point of view, the best atmosphere.
Okay.
Even though, let's not forget the Old Firm games, against Rangers, that is like the pinnacle of any football game to go in terms of atmosphere, the passion between the teams, the fans themselves, on the day, on the week, because it's not just on the day himself. Before the game, the preparation at Glasgow, you can feel Glasgow really, really is on fire, frankly say. You've got this rivalry of the two big, massive club, and it's great as a player to experience it. And I experienced it on that season 4 times, when we won most of them, and winning actually the treble in that league as well, that year as well. It was a fantastic thing. So there's no doubt. The fans, Celtic, one of the best in the world. The atmosphere, without a doubt, the Celtic.
Yeah, I mean, that Old Firm is up there, I think, with the derby in Argentina and possibly Madrid, Barcelona. But yeah, Celtic fans, I hear that from a lot of players, that the atmosphere is absolutely electric. So after that amazing 6 months, you've gone to Celtic after you broke your ankle, you've won the treble, which must be some kind of a record, for a guy to win 3 trophies in 6 months. Then
don't think anybody else done it, yeah.
No, I don't think so, Ramon. I don't think so. Then you spent a season at Watford under Gianluca Vialli. What was he like as a coach?
Oh, completely the opposite of what Martin O'Neill was. Let's go there. But let me just go one step back. And I think there's a lot of Celtic supporters either misinformed as such. I remember I wanted to stay at Celtic. There's no even doubt. Actually, I wanted to stay and finish my career there. But I need to just put this correctly and straight, I never really been provided any offer to stay at Celtic. That's the most disappointing part of it. After, as you say, record-beating way, winning the league, and I would say, humbly, way, I think I really played very good football for Celtic Glasgow, and I've done a very good job for them, and also for Martin O'Neill. So my biggest disappointment is I could not even have, leave alone a renewal of 1 year or so, or even any offer what I can say, at least I can turn down and say, well, I don't want to do that, because whatever reason, I just want to make things straight. I really wanted to stay at Celtic, and that's the most biggest disappointment is I couldn't stay because I just didn't have any offer. So when you don't have an offer as a player, what do? You have to look for an option where to go. Came up and give us a 4 years contract. So if you just see common sense as a player, you're in nearly about early 30s, and you're maybe about 4 or 5 years down the line of retirement, and then you look at, okay, Celtic, well, they know already you should stay. That should be obvious, okay? Doesn't even give you an offer or even talk about an offer. And then you've got Waffle, gives you 4 years. Where are you going to go?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very short career, and you've got to think about yourself and your future.
It's a very difficult one. Even I try to prolong it, that I get an offer from Celtic. I would say, Waffle, wait, Celtic is priority to do it, But when you don't get an offer, you need to move on, because then they say, well, these guys don't want you. As simple as that, And I then moved to Watford, and it's not because of the money at that time cared about, because Watford now, as historically, I didn't go through the whole 4 years, frankly saying, but it was just poorly. It was just no offer or contract on the table to sign for Celtic. Simple as that.
Ramon, why do you think that is? Do you think Celtic obviously couldn't afford you? Was that probably
no?
The case?
Well, listen, if they couldn't afford me, they will say, Ramon, we can't afford you to do this, but we can give you this at least. Mm-hmm. At least a negotiation, to start. Yeah. We don't even have that. If these guys told me, Ramon, I think we can't give you the same contract. We need to have a 20% reduction, or we can add it up in a different way, like a bonus structure, whatever it is, where I say, okay, at that time, I would be willing to do anything, because I actually felt a lot at the club. I wanted to stay, and I'm uncomfortable up there. So for me to stay, not the 10 less, have 20% less, or 30, or whatever it is at the time, because I don't even have the chance to negotiate. There was no offer there. So I would be definitely listening to it, and I would be most likely accept it as well. So it was not the question because they couldn't pay me or not. It was a question. There was no offer.
No, that's a shame. That's a shame, because
that's the disappointing part. And I'm looking back now. I was very disappointed after that, to be honest, when I joined Watford. I was just like, not disrespect Watford at the time, because I was glad that it took me on, but I just felt I grew into the whole atmosphere of Celtic. I think most likely the fans embraced me already within that 6 months. And I really, from the performance point of view, I think facts, they were there. I played week in, week out good and score goals.
Score goals, and the team won the treble in 6 months.
The treble,
you were there,
and defended well. So in terms of technical and performance, I would say, if we look back, I don't think there was any doubt about it. Now, most likely, the managers had another idea.
So you went to Watford. Obviously, Gianluca Vialli was very different than Martin O'Neill. Mm-hmm. What was he like to play with, Gianluca Vialli, to play under?
Well, Gianluca was different. I knew, obviously, my experience in Italy was good, because that's exactly the Gianluca Vialli way of coaching. So the Italian way, all about attrition, tactical, so completely different what Martin O'Neill is, to be honest. You're absolutely nothing to do what Martin O'Neill coaching techniques are, or managerial kind of techniques. So Gianluca was more kind of the really continental European Italian way of doing it, all the dehydration, physical performance, all of that. And I got used to it, and I know I was used to it in the past in Italy playing. But most of the other English players at Watford, they never played first, some of them in the Premier League, to leave alone in the Championship. For them, that was a completely new attitude, how to look after the team and do it. So they actually struggled in the first place to do that. And that, hence, some of the performance didn't go well as such. But also the team was not really melted together well. It was not like a great team spirit as such, because like individualism was more there than actually as a team. And that really didn't go well for Gianluca himself. He's a nice guy as himself, but I think as a manager, I think that was the potential for him was his worst experience as a manager going forward. Because after that, I don't think he was managing anything else.
Right, and then you after Watford.
So after Watford, Watford, there was financial crisis coming in. ITV contracts collapsed. Then that means Watford was in a disarray of financial problems. All the big earners in that I was part of the 4 years contract up within a year they needed to cancel, i.e. pay out. So in a way I could stay for 4 years and same times it would be selfish because the Watford would be potentially going in administration because they couldn't pay anything. Okay.
Yeah.
But I say, okay, now just leave me to go for free, of course, and pay me out some percentage of the remaining contracts I have. So I negotiated that. So after a year, I left it and make sure that Watford doesn't go under administration. And then at that time, French little club here, Créteil, said, well, why are you not coming to us? And then I said, okay, I didn't go for money there. I just went to someone to play football,
And then you retired after that. Yeah, the spell in France.
Well, after that, I retired and I came back to London. And then, the question was, what do I do? Most of the players and football players or sports professionals having after career ending, it's that post-career issue you have. Where do you do what you're going to do? Not all going to be coaching or going to be on TV. I went completely different direction. I decided to go into the financial world. I slash asset management, private equity. And I decided to be an investor in an asset management in London in 2003. Yeah,
you've played for Switzerland 23 times, including that huge opening game at Euro '96 in Wembley against England, when everyone thought England were going to hammer Switzerland, 4 or 5-0, but they didn't. They were lucky to get a draw at the end. Tell me about that day. That must have been special.
Well, the Euro '96 was fantastic because it was an opening game. The whole world was watching. The host was England, Switzerland, the little nation of football. Well, pretty much that time, Switzerland was not that football nation. We put Switzerland on the map, I think, on that date as well, and it was a great day. Because you play against Gascoigne, Teddy Sheringham, my future teammate at Spurs, Terran Anderton as well, Paul Leans, some fantastic England teams as well. Well, we thought, wow, it's going to be a hard one on the first game, but then the English players the week before the game got absolutely hammered in Hong Kong. The famous Hong Kong trip they had, and they said, "Well, they take it that serious. That means we might have a chance to win against them." So we started the game. We had a good game against them. We actually drew. Nearly actually had the chance to win against England. That would be a massive surprise for England. Can you imagine the host of the United States getting beaten by the small country like Switzerland on the first game of the tournament? That would be a disaster. Already 1-1 would be a bad kind of a perception for the England team, and they were under pressure from day one after that.
They certainly were. Ramon, have you ever played with a guy called Johan von Lanten?
No, I have not played with him, but I know of him because he's a Swiss player. He was younger than me, so he came only just later on into the Swiss team as well. So I have not played with him, but I know of him. Yeah.
Well, I have played with him.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, he was a lovely guy, actually. He's I think he's Colombian descent. He speaks Spanish.
Yes.
But he was here at Salzburg, at Red Bull Salzburg. And they released him, but he still had a house here. So he wanted to stay fit. And on our small amateur team, we had a guy from Chile, and he knew him, and he came and played a few games with us,
Oh, right. Interesting.
He was okay. He wasn't bad. He was okay.
Not bad. Yeah.
Okay, Ramon. Who is the best player you've played with and the best player you've played against? Take your time.
Well, against, a massive choice because between the Serie A and Premier League at that time, well, Serie A, I think I would say way much more quality players at that time.
Definitely, yeah.
We're talking to Brazilian Ronaldo, down to the Batistuta, down to Rob Baccio, all of them. So yes, it's a list there. In Serie A, was without that, we can't. You've got the best strikers to play against. So it's very, very difficult to single out one of them. I think Ronaldo, Brazilian, without a doubt, top notch. Okay, against with. Between two, Henry Glassing at Celtic and David Ginola at Tottenham.
Ginola, yeah, I mean, I'm actually a Newcastle fan, and I was devastated when he left. He was a fantastic player, just unbelievable on the ball. He could beat anybody.
Very flamboyant, very kind of. I think Henry Larsson, in terms of quality striker and person, is definitely up there. And then number two, David Ginola, of course, had Teddy Sheringham as well. In Italy, Fabian O'Neill in Cagliari, Uruguay player, unbelievable skillful, I would say. But yeah, I would say these two are the ones. I would say played with quality ones. Yeah.
We had Rule Fox on the show, ex Newcastle and Tottenham, and we asked him the same question. What was your impression of David Ginola's hair?
Obviously, it's worth it, as you can say,
Okay.
Oh gosh, he's a character. He's David Ginola. As I say, he's very flamboyant, typical French froggy way, we call it. It's typical. Not much at the moment, but in the past he had that. Yeah.
Okay, Ramon. What are you doing these days in 2021?
Well, this 2021 is three things actually. I'm advising quite a lot of football clubs in their financing, especially now because of the COVID-19 scenario of the last 14 months, 18 months, I would say. Because quite a lot of clubs are in disarray in the lower leagues, I would say more, in terms of the finances and cash flow. So get some support, or I invest there, etc., and structure that. That's something in one of the 80% of my duty. But at the same time, also on the sports technology, I'm setting up something quite exciting on the data exchange, where with fans, they're getting power back again, frankly saying. Where this week, I think, with the Super League scenario, is a good example that the fans should be getting back the power somehow, And what this platform we're doing, it's pretty much exactly what it is. They're getting the power, but at the same time, they're getting rewarded and can do business and reward and earn money out of this. So it's a very, very kind of nice data exchange platform we're creating.
What is your opinion on this Super League? I mean,
I think it's not much to discuss, to be honest. It's a total disaster of idea in terms of for the football game. I think the Super League is not been thought through truly, because I think it's just really only these 12 clubs or 14 clubs thought, okay, we can do one and earn quite a lot of money. It's more kind of a structure of a banking financing transaction. We know, because I talk a lot with banks and funds and hedge funds, is exactly the language they're talking about it, Very elite, very banking, very financing, but nothing to do with the sports themselves. It actually will take away completely the spirits of the sports and the morality of the sports, So that Super League, there's no doubt, it was good to be scratched. Well, I think 48 hours, not even, it was alive, and nobody wanted, But in the same time, it was also kind of an alarm for the overall resetting of the whole football structure in the pyramid, where it needs to be considered, because I don't think so. At the moment, we have a solution as it is. It needs to be reset, needs to be restructured, it needs to be innovated in many ways, and most importantly, the whole grassroots and smaller leagues needs to be integrated much more and wider, because at the moment the gap between the smaller leagues / clubs to compare the Super League, i.e. the Premier League, etc., is widening and widening more over the last 10-15 years, and that gap, it has a tremendous impact to the whole grassroots of all community around the globe in football, and that you can see that, you can feel that already as we speak. Hence the Super League, they're trying to do that, because they're trying to generate more money. But that's not the problem. The problem is the fundamental on the grassroots, the structure there, to filter all the money into it and grow that, develop that. That part has not been thought at all.
No, I mean, obviously it was, 100% money motivated. And Florentino Perez came out and said, look, we're still going to try this again in the future. But the way I look at it, the Champions League is worth so much money. You have everything you need there. Obviously, the Premier League's got all this massive TV money. And in Spain, Barcelona and Real Madrid are the big dogs, but I don't think they can compete with these big Premier League teams in Paris Saint-Germain anymore. That's why Perez wanted, I think, Madrid and Barcelona to go in there, and he's hanging on to it. But the likes of Man United, Liverpool, and Chelsea, Man City, they don't need this.
Well, I think the solution is not what Perez was saying. Oh, we need to have created a much bigger league and create more money. That's not the solution. That's pretty much like you want to refinance your mortgage again. and
True.
You know what I mean? Is that a solution? Yeah, maybe short thinking. Yes, you're refinancing. You may have better interest or whatever it is, and keeps you alive. But you still have the debt to pay for it for your house. So what they're believing to do that, they're thinking they're getting more money. It's going to sink through it. No, that's not the solution. So the solution should be coming into it. Where is the gap of spending of these big clubs? Why the hell is such a huge generating money provider like Real Madrid, Barcelona, having 900 million / 1 billion euros in debt? Why do they have these? Why in the first place they even be part of such a Super League when you have such a huge debt? Normally, in any other industry, you're either in administration or bankrupt, okay? Now, that's not going to happen because there's a social impact with the whole industry. So the question is here, we need to put a sustainable model in place where, yes, the driver's seats of the bigger clubs are there, or generating money, but at the same time, they need to have a kind of spending cap in place there where you just don't spend more than actually coming in. And if it triggers that through all the levels and the income comes in like it is, you balance off the sustainability. Everybody is not as much in debt, but also competitive because he has to work around that budget. You can't spend more than you're actually bringing in. And by doing that, you need to be more clever in buying players. You need to be more cautious about which players and what contracts. And you're just so conscious of Paris Saint-Germain or Manchester City, all the big ones. We can spend 200-300 million quid for a player. That's easy. If you have money, that's easy. But does it make any sense? No, it doesn't. So I think the question is that all these big teams, yes, great, they're putting a lot of money in these billionaires, they want to make money, but they can make money if they're really controlling the sustainability point of how they're spending the money with their earnings they're bringing in. They can really make money because they don't have to pay so much debt that often. It's much better.
Very, very, very good point there, Ramon. Final question now. You obviously won, like we said, the League Cup in '99 with Tottenham. Mm-hmm. Tottenham are back in the League Cup final again this weekend against Manchester City. 6 days before this final, Jose Mourinho has been sacked. Mm-hmm. I mean, why do you think he was sacked?
Well, I think first of all, I was shocked as well. A week before the League Cup, you do that potentially maybe afterwards. But I think he came to a stage where, I had this conversation interview about 3-4 months ago, where some of the struggles within the team members and players, the Daly and maybe other members. I'm not in the dressing room, so I can't really know if it's an issue there. But when you're a player and you've been in the dressing room, you get the gut feeling very quickly if is there an issue there within the dressing room with the manager, okay? And then I can see there was definitely without that from players' point of view and the manager, some not really good relationship going on. And when something like that happens, it's like a little virus in a team. If 1 or 2 or 3 players are unhappy of they're connecting or they're back-mouthing, etc. And then suddenly it's like 2 players, suddenly 5 players, 6 players, and suddenly you don't do that performance anymore. You've got quality players, but they're not performing as a team anymore. And then suddenly they're playing against each other because someone wants to play football, someone wants to steer the problem. And then suddenly the players against each other fighting. And that's where the major problems in all the big teams are coming up. When that part comes in, then the manager has to go because obviously one of the manager, you can't control that. You won't be a successful team manager. And I think that's what happened with Mourinho. The level of fighting or uncertainty within the dressing room with the manager was so high, there was pretty much not anymore sustainable to be even staying at Spurs. And I think that's what Daniel Levy decided to sack him ASAP to prepare for the League Cup.
Yeah, I mean, but if you look at the table, they obviously won, a couple of nights ago and against Southampton, and they're one win away from the top four. So if Mourinho, for example, had have stayed, if they won this weekend, you could win the League Cup and finish in the top four. Okay, they were embarrassed by Dinamo Zagreb in the Europa League, but it wouldn't have been a bad season. But I think, he said something publicly last week. He said that, he was asked by a reporter, basically, why do you keep losing these leads? And you used to be great at protecting leads. And he said, same manager, different players, publicly. So that's not good, I don't think, for the players to hear that.
No. Exactly. But you can see it there already. There, the rift between the management and players, and all of that it's happening. So once that, you play football, you play, in your team or whatever it is. When you have issues with either with the coach or the players, immediately there's no team. Even when you're playing, you play the game. You're feeling there's no atmosphere as a team. You're just playing it for the sake of it, And of course, if you start to lose with that team, with such terrible atmosphere in the dressing room, gets even worse. Because then it's the pointing the finger, it's your fault, and maybe your performance is also not really performing, so you're frustrated with yourself. So all of that happens, and if the manager can't really deal with that, and the manager is potentially one of the main issue in that, then you have to go, because that has to come ASAP, otherwise a roller coaster. Nothing's going to happen.
Indeed. Ramon, thank you so much for your time. You've had an absolute fantastic career. You're a legend at Celtic, a legend at Grasshoppers, a legend at Tottenham. And I know you're a busy man. I got to say, thank you very much for coming on the show.
No, absolutely. More than welcome. Anytime, my friend. Okay. And enjoy Salzburg.
Thank you. Enjoy Budapest, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you'd like to hear more of our podcasts, please click on the red subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side. Thank you.